Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. We are back with our Monday guest, Mr. Greg Dickerson. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, Michael. How are you today?
I'm doing well, man. So I don't know if you saw this. This certainly hit my radar, given my focus on residential real estate. That's where I'm buying. That's what I'm looking to buy. They came out with a number that frightened me. It actually like took me back when I read it, but now that I've thought about it for a week, I think they're right, and I think they actually might be low. So what they did, Greg, is they said that the U.S. residential housing market could see another 16% appreciation by the end of next year. So I don't know if you saw that. Maybe this is the first time you've heard it. So I'm curious, what do you think about Goldman Sachs' call of another 16% appreciation?
Goldman who?
Goldman Sachs.
You mean the guys that just came out with record earnings?
Yeah, those guys.
Because of all of the stimulus and free money that the federal government is putting into their pockets because they're buying their mortgage-backed securities.
Yeah, those guys. Yes.
Yeah. So what are you gonna say? You know what I mean? You just made record earnings off selling these instruments to investors.
They're calling their book.
Exactly, just like they did in 08, 09. I mean, who do you think was leading the charge there? So, and who do you think was in charge of the Fed and all of that?
Yeah,
Goldman Sachs guys.
Powell's a legacy Goldman guy, right? Isn't he? Jerome Powell, legacy Goldman Sachs.
He was. I think he was not Goldman, but he might have been Morgan Stanley.
Might have been Morgan Stanley.
Somewhere else. Before that,
But Stearns, a Wall Street guy,
not Bear Stearns, but he's a Wall Street guy now. Neil Kashkari's Goldman. He was in there. Hank Paulson, who was the Treasury Secretary, during the crisis. Yeah. He's Goldman. So they're all connected, and of course, who's the guy at Harvard now? Larry Summers, when he was in there. Mm-hmm. So, these guys are all connected, and that's how they make their money. But it's all about interest rates. I mean, we're already seeing a tipping point in the housing market in the country right now because interest rates are on the rise. Mortgage refis are down, sales are down. Mm-hmm. We're seeing a lot of areas where actually there's another entity that came out and said, we're actually going to see oversupply in the housing market again real soon because, the way this is going to turn with interest rates. So we're already seeing in some areas, builders are having to offer incentives again because people have, backed out. They just, they don't want to buy at the top of the market. Mm-hmm. So we're seeing pushback from buyers, and we're seeing days on market go up in a lot of areas. Now, again, real estate's hyper local. Every market's different. There's some areas where, there's still no inventory and houses are selling in days, but, even in those markets, there's stuff that's not selling in days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I see a housing slowdown. Actually, let's ask it this way. Let's ask this question. So notice 16% appreciation. Do you think national housing goes negative next year?
I really don't know. It's all about interest rates. So It's hard to say because it's all about interest rates. Now, let's do it this way. Okay. All things being equal and on the same path we're on now, absolutely. I mean, if interest rates remain at record lows and, inventory levels remain where they are, then absolutely, you're going to see another 16, 20%, just like we've seen the last 2 years, right?
Okay. So if supply stays now, half of normal. Yep. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. All things being equal to now, absolutely. You would absolutely expect values to rise.
Okay. All right. So interest rates rough and tough 3%, inventory half of normal, meaning below what a normal market is. Prices continue racing higher. That means if interest rates go up.
Everything backs up. Now, here's the interesting thing. So, you and I have talked about what's the number on interest rates that really change things significantly. And you think it's 4. I mean, you think it's 5. Yeah. I've said it's 4. Okay. We're seeing it 3 now. We're seeing whenever rates get over 3%, boom, refi rates, refi applications stop. The housing market cools off. I mean, very interesting because we've been under 3%.
We have,
so it's these psychological levels. It's like you said, it's consumer sentiment, but more than that, it's that payment.
It's a payment.
When everything's been reset from a value standpoint of payments at that sub 3% interest rate. You start getting over 3%, that payment changes. And I'm telling you, it's a couple $100 a month per percentage point in your payments. That makes a huge difference in the value of the house. It's that 10% number roughly for every percentage point. Could be more. as it goes up. So very fascinating that we're seeing 3% trigger a tipping point.
Yeah.
4 would be catastrophic. 5, it's game over.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I think we're right. I think that's the one disagreement we have. You think 4 is the number. I think it's 5. Yeah, we're going to find out, because I think interest rates have hit the low, and I think they're going up. I mean, just this morning, they're up over 1.61. Again, this is the 10-year. The 10-year kind of feeds mortgages. And I just saw something this morning. I sent it to my mortgage guy who I speak to on Wednesdays. Let me see if I can pull it up in the text real fast. It actually said,
the other thing you have too is, people that are buying payments are budgeting, so you've got fuel. I mean, gas is at record highs again, crossing over $3 in most areas of the country where it hasn't been, into the mid 3s. Your area, it's probably in the 4s.
Yeah, it's almost 5.
Obviously. Yeah. So obviously that's huge. That puts a big dent. Somebody who's buying that $500,000 house, $400,000 or $500,000 house, they're budgeting monthly big time. Yeah. Then you've got, food costs have gone up, I mean, everything, taxes are going up. I mean, we're seeing real inflation that's here to stay. We still have the labor issue that's driving costs up across the board. I mean, the latest news that a lot of these big retailers are hiring private shipping companies to bring their goods in to go to smaller ports.
Yeah.
And bypassing the big log jam. I mean, they're just going to pass those costs along, to the consumer. So, I mean, we're seeing inflation everywhere you look right now that isn't going away anytime soon. So where's the first place that is going to affect people? It's in the payment that they can afford on their house, what they can afford on their cars. We're already seeing the car market flip, where, things are starting to come in check a little bit again. So, these are the things that, and this is all good because, values are just way too high right now and it needs to come down. But what I don't know is, what can the Fed do when inflation is too hot? They've already, the market bursts on, on Wall Street, and, the market starts to reset, real estate market starts to correct. What ammunition do they have? Because, interest rates aren't going to do it at that point.
Yeah. Well, I think they've proven they're willing to buy. They've talked about buying ETFs and all. I mean, it's scary to think about, frankly, if the Fed's going to do that in the market. I hope they don't. I just talked about on the daily financial news that 89% of stock market wealth is owned by 10%. I hope the Fed doesn't. I don't know. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to think.
There's an argument for some of that, there's a lot of retirees that have their money in the stock market, and the Fed is doing what they're doing to kind of keep some of that propped up. So that doesn't, they don't bankrupt the aging population of the country. But at some point, what they're doing isn't going to be enough. I don't know. I don't know if they can continue to capitalize the markets.
Yeah, it's a tough conversation because, again, it's when you say 10%, that's, again, it's 401ks and pensions and all of that. So it's really, really tough to think about. But again, we need to watch what's going on.
What were you going to say before? We got a little bit of a delay, it looks like.
Yeah, we're making it work. I just think the thing we've got to watch is wages, right? For me, again, studying a lot in the 70s, the last 90 days or so, wages really drive this. And I think we are in a super cycle of wage growth. I think union striking, people, 4.2 million or 3.8, I forget the actual number, quit in the last 90 days. There's just a lot of wage inflation that's going to push up prices. But again, people spend on payment. So if your income goes up 12%, US consumers have proven they're not going to save it. They're going to spend it somewhere, somehow.
Yeah. It's interesting, and those costs get passed along. So, I think wages need to go up. They've been stagnant for a long time. So it'll be interesting to see what the end result is. And the stimulus that's been put into the economy and the endless spending and printing and all that, I don't know what the result of that's going to be and how that unwinds.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question as we wrap up episode number 3. What do you think the real CPI inflation is? Obviously, CPI is managed and has all these puts and takes in it. Do you think inflation right now is 8%, 10%? Do you believe 5% maybe? What would your pure guess and speculation be the inflation rate today?
We're north of 10%, when you factor in, wage inflation and, the things that businesses have to do for compliance with everything that's going on. Yeah, I think it's north of 10%.
Wow, folks, north of 10%. CPI last print, I think, was 5.4, might have been 5.5. Yeah, I think inflation is here to stay. I think it will be here for certainly the rest of the year and probably most of next year. This wage inflation is what I call a super cycle. It's not over, right? It's like continuing waves. It's just gonna keep rippling through our economy. So, Greg, how can people find you and get part of your world?
Yeah, gregdickerson.com. All my info is there. YouTube channel, podcast, social media links, all on gregdickerson.com.
Yeah, do yourself a favor, folks. Subscribe to his YouTube channel. He puts out a lot of amazing stuff and has experiences I don't have. So I go to that channel to learn new stuff. So thanks for all you do, Greg.
Yeah, absolutely.